Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And it would appear as if the state is starting to wake up. Now, the problem is, this is not the first time I have said this. This is the issue in South Africa. The state will do something that looks very, very promising, looks like it could be really good, and then turn around and do something incredibly stupid. That's sort of the problem in South Africa, and it all stems from the same sort of cause. The root cause of all of this stupidity is the ANC and specifically their communist notions. Every single government plan that ever is dreamt up sort of falls by the wayside exactly because the ANC cannot, for the life of them, see past what they deem to be the only right response, and that, of course, would be communism. But nevertheless, the Public Works or the Department of Public Works has started to take things seriously. Under the direction of Minister MacPherson, the state is planning to introduce a new action plan. Yes, that is another action plan. Yes, that is another plan. We have energy plans, we have economic plans, we have action plans, we have rugby plans, cricket plans, we have plans, right? That's sort of, again, just pretty much South Africa's bog standard approach. If plans was money, South Africa would be the richest country in the world by far. But of course, plans isn't money, and pretty much every single time these plans are implemented, they run into the problem of ideology, because the ANC has a tried and true track record of catership as well as nepotism. Most of these plans eventually have to make way for some of this nepotism, some of this favoring to go through. And once you allow a certain part of it through, it tends to crumble all in all. Now, Public Works has been an absolute mess in South Africa. There are countless schools that are half built, hospitals that are half built, projects that were started and just never actually finished. And the reason why these projects were sort of let go or didn't ever finish is either because there isn't enough money, because the money dried up, or because the contractors just took the money and ran. So there's a list of problems. The new action plan under Minister MacPherson is seeking to change that. So I'll quickly take you through all of the action plans, and then you'll hopefully get a sense of what is happening or what isn't happening. Before we do that, though, we just very quickly have to talk about what the Public Works Department is budgeting for all of this. They want to increase the fixed expenditure of public works from the current 14.2% of GDP to about 30% of GDP. I'm not in favor of the government spending money, but if the government is going to spend money, it has to be on things that is economically active, things that's actually going to make more money as a result of it. None of the public works here are ever actually spent on doing that. It's a good idea for the government to build schools, but if the government isn't also building a number of projects that sort of help economic development, those schools are eventually just going to lead to inflation. If the government is building a bunch of houses for the poor, but not also busy, sort of building roads to new office parks so that we can get business going, that is going to lead to inflation. So ultimately, that's the problem in our state. There is way too much money being wasted on non-economically active activities. Schooling is important, although I do not think the government should be involved in public or in education in any form. But since the government is, that's where we are now. Okay, so talking about the plan, the six-point blueprint for accountability. The first, and this is the one that I absolutely agree with, blacklisting bad actors. Right now, the way it works in South Africa is if you're a company that has done work for the government, or I should say done work for the government, you didn't do anything, you just took the money. Most of these guys just change their name, go to a new province, and immediately just start doing it all over again. That's, of course, if they're not with contacts in the municipality, which allows them to just continuously do new projects that they're not actually doing. Instead, what they'll be doing now is setting up a national database to ensure that all companies are registered, as well as all of the directors and the people who work in these companies are registered nationally. So if you screw up in one province, you're blacklisted in all provinces. You can no longer do work for the state. According to Minister MacPherson, it should be an honor to do business with the state. I don't know about that. People should be doing it begrudgingly, but still, in South Africa, since the state is the main driver of the economy, because they're destroying all other parts of the economy, that probably kind of makes sense. Fixing cash flow chaos, again, super agree with this. The plan here is to start ring fencing funding for specific projects. So, for those of you that don't quite understand what that means, currently, a municipality has a budget for public works, and they just give out a bunch of tenders for things that they want to do, whether it's good or bad things, doesn't really matter. But they want to do things, and they give out a bunch of tenders. These people apply, they submit their quotations, and then the state approves a bunch of these quotes. And then the state starts spending. Every single one of these projects runs over pretty much always. And before you know it, you have about 4 projects that's in the works that siphoned all of the money that the municipality had available. And then you have like 8 or 9 projects that just have nothing left. There is no actual funding for this project. Instead, now it will have to be ring fenced. So you will have to have the money already available and in a separate account for that specific building project. And that building project cannot go over budget because the very next thing here is tracking every brick. They're going to move the entire country to a new digital asset information system where everything is tracked to ensure that projects cannot run over budget. And if they do, it will be far easier for the Minister of Public Works to actually spot where and when projects are actually running way over budget. Procurement war rooms will have to be set up with legal advisors, supply chain specialists, and engineers. So these will be, I'm assuming, these will be public engineers or people who work for the municipality, but they have engineering degrees, so that whenever a company does submit a quotation, it will first have to pass through this war room. Actual engineers, legal experts, and supply chain managers will have to look at this and say, is this quote a viable quote? Is it way too much? Is it way too little? What exactly is going on here? And only then can it pass. And from what I understand here, these war rooms will have to be registered with the Department of Public Works so that they can see who are these experts that's going to be part of these war rooms. The next one is fixing the audit disaster. And this is where they're working with the Auditor General very closely to figure out how the Auditor General will be able to audit every single project that Public Works starts so that they can track more closely where all the money goes and where the money is lost. And then the last one here is professionalizing the state. This is the one that I'm sort of iffy on. I do agree that the state should hire proficient and educated people to do the job. But in this one, what they're trying to say is that all of the architects and the project managers and the engineers and stuff that already work for the city, they will now have to register with the municipality as an actual engineer. So if they don't have the qualification, they cannot be an engineer on any project because they're not, in fact, an engineer. So they would have to register with whatever body governs that profession, and then that would give them access to the municipality. I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, I'm not sure how many engineers there even are that would be working for the state. The problem in South Africa is that most professionals leave the country. They don't stay here, especially if you're an engineer. It's very hard to get work in the first place. I have a couple of friends who went into engineering and they suffered. Both of them now work for American companies. They don't work in South Africa, mainly because they couldn't find any work. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out. The main thing with all of this, and then the last one here is actually tackling the construction mafia, which they say the police is busy with, whatever that means. The big thing I want to point out here is, again, as I said in the beginning, it's great to have a plan. The problem in South Africa is that these plans always run into the ANC. Just look at this, for example. 7 months ago, we should have had a deal with America. But we left it. And now 7 months later, Ramaphosa is saying, well, timeframes when you deal with governments always shift. He's like, yeah, we might have a deal soon. Oopsie. We'll see what happens. So that's the problem in South Africa. Every single time anything needs to be done, the ANC gets their fingers on it and then it goes to hell. This is a good thing. It is good news. And if they can implement it perfectly, This might actually be something that starts to put this country on a bit of a better track. Not that it's a good track, it's just a bit better than the one that we're on already. Let me know in the comment section down below how you guys feel. As always, hit the like if you liked it, if you didn't. And then, massive shout out and thank you to all of the patrons as well as the YouTube channel members. Hit the link in the description down below to become a patron or the join button right below this video. Your support allows me to eventually get some researchers, get an actual journalist or two to start investigating the stories ourselves so that I can give you the actual story and not the one that's been filtered through the news media. As always, be good to each other, be kind to each other, and I will see all of you in the next one. Peace.